This is big, as we all Suns fans know that things are needed for change in Phoenix. And with some names being possibly thrown around on the spectrum, Suns fans have been clinging to a player in Bradley Beal to be that odd man out. And with his recent benching, some insiders have proposed a possible destination that could be fitting for Bradley Beal and for the Suns to get ultimately what they want in a player in Jimmy Butler. We're going to be describing and looking at that scenario and kind of diving into, is it 100% possible for the Suns to do this? We'll be breaking that all down and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support on the channel recently over the last couple of weeks, showing your love in the comment section, hitting that like, hitting that subscribe button. So let us know what you think down below on this trade proposal. Without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. And before we dive in onto the Bradley Beal news, we do have a little bit of an updated Jimmy Butler situation, as we do have some words from Gambo before we dive into this Bradley Beal news. And I want to go over this as well. So as we see from Gambo, he spoke his words out of the silence from the Bradley Beal bench, the Yusuf Nurkic bench. He went on to say, some of the rumblings that he has heard around the league is that Memphis and Milwaukee are also teams who have ongoing discussions about a trade for Jimmy Butler. Miami is weighing if it is better to trade him now or in the offseason via sign and trade. And Memphis is a team that I mentioned as a dark horse, potentially to kind of get involved in this Jimmy Butler sweepstakes in a previous video, going over when when Jimmy Butler said he was willing to go to any team. But the Milwaukee Bucks raises a little bit of a question mark, as they obviously have some tradable contracts, but would need to drop below the second apron to be able to even acquire Jimmy Butler. So that also raises some alarms. We also see as well from Gambo that as for the Beal, the no trade looms large. He could have went to Milwaukee before he ended up in Phoenix, but that was turned down. Gambo has heard he could waive his no trade clause for LA, Miami, or Denver, but he does not believe there are few others that he could ultimately that decides and works for him. And that is where we get here with the Jimmy Butler news. So as we all know, for the Suns to be able, hit the wrong button, for the Suns to be able to acquire a player in Jimmy Butler, they would have to send out Bradley Beal's contract. And as we all know, with Bradley Beal recently getting benched and with the Suns being on right now and right at this moment as of recording, not playing up to standards early in the first quarter with disappointing performances offensively so far, with Nurkic being the leading scorer at this very moment, it is looking disappointing, and obviously things are going and necessary needed changes will have to be happening. So for the Suns looking to get that big splash in Jimmy Butler, trading a contract like Bradley Beal needs to be happenable, but a player like Bradley Beal, as we all know, isn't a trade target of the Miami Heat. So how could the Suns possibly get this to do done? Obviously a three-team deal, but what other third teams could get involved? Well, that's what we're breaking down here in the next part. Is we're going to be looking at the possibility of this is perfect and truly, I believe, one of the best case scenarios for the Phoenix Suns to get off this Bradley Beal contract, find the way for the Heat to find some natural assets that they would like, and also get their key star player in Jimmy Butler, with Bradley Beal still helping out some contenders. Now, in my recent videos on this channel, we looked and broke down some possible suitors that Bradley Beal could be interested for a third team. And I broke down multiple teams. And as you could tell from the thumbnail, you could probably guess we're going to be looking at the Detroit Pistons. As an NBA insider also agrees that the Pistons could be a smart team for Bradley Beal to actually go on. And as we all know, like we mentioned, Bradley Beal could try to push out the door with this no trade clause due to the fact that he obviously got benched. And we obviously see from Mike Budenholzer here that we needed to make a change throughout the 48-minute game. You got to figure out your best combinations, your best ways to try to have success. And there are two important players to us, two very good players in Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic, but they had to be benched for the Suns to find some ultimate success. And that ultimately just means that they're not working out and not fitting with this team. So like I said, with this, Kevin O'Connor brought up this great idea on a team that could be interesting is the Detroit Pistons as a third team in the Jimmy Butler Bradley Beal trade. The Pistons are one game back from the 6th seed, 3 back from the 4th seed, and Beal fits in Ivy's place. The contract can be a placeholder until their long term piece is ready. And a deal that could get this done would be the Suns getting Jimmy Butler, the Heat getting Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway, and the Pistons getting Bradley Beal. Obviously, there would be draft picks involved, Miami and Detroit, where Phoenix has a first in 2031 and Denver seconds in 26 and 31. They could also swap firsts again in 26, 28, and 30. And this would be a possible way for the Suns to be able to get that Jimmy Butler contract, with the Pistons getting a player in Bradley Beal who they could possibly use, and the Miami Heat to still get some decent players in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris to fill out their roster, while also being able to get off of those long-term contracts in the future, with Tobias Harris only having 1 year left on his deal after this season, and Tim Hardaway Jr. being a free agent after this season. And this could be honestly the best deal that could work out for all three parties. Like Kevin O'Connor said, a player in Jaden Ivey just went down for the Detroit Pistons, and they're a team that has been on the surge in the Eastern Conference, and they're not too far from possibly competing in an Eastern Conference playoff spot. And with teams like the Pacers and the Sixers having down years and having some injured like seasons in the Eastern Conference, it's left the bottom slash middle of that pack to be wide open. Obviously, the top of the top is at the crisp of there, and I don't think the Pistons will be able to launch themselves into a top four or top three seed in the Eastern Conference. But if they can get into the playoffs with Cade Cunningham for the first time with this young roster, and spark some funness into the city, that would be great. And maybe getting a player like Bradley Beal, a player who could be that offensive spark plug and shooter alongside Cade Cunningham as a better and more consistent player than Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris, could be that replacement and could be that filler piece for the Pistons, while the Heat also, like I said, get some filler, and the Suns obviously get their guy that they covetedly really want in Jimmy Butler. But Gambo had some talk about this as well, as he had some insight in going in on all this noise. If you want to see where he said lots of talk of Detroit being a third team for Beal. Doesn't make a lot of sense to him as to why they would want him, but we have to do some more digging. They do have cap space, but a young team on the rise, so unless heavily incentivized to no reason, still needs to do more work on that. So Gambo, like I said, we'll do some diving in. We'll be trying to figure out. And like I mentioned, they are a team that I had previously mentioned in a Bradley Beal trade destination video to be interested in him. Now, are they for sure 100% going to bite the bullet and go for Bradley Beal? No, but they could be a team that could be incentivized to take it on if the Suns give up enough draft capital alongside Bradley Beal, and if they think Bradley Beal could be a nice veteran to go with their team. The Pistons have been known through the years to want to get veteran shooters, want to get those guys, and a player like Bradley Beal, like I said, is an upgrade over Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway Jr., and to replace Jaden Ivey's offensive spark, you could still add that while still keeping a young piece in Marcus Sasser, which they desperately want to have as well, still in that guard room. It ultimately is also a better fit for Bradley Beal to get that offensive motion and to obviously succeed. He'd also have to waive that no trade clause to be able to go to Detroit. But Detroit, a young team on the rise and a team that could also hold over his $50 million for the next couple seasons, could be the perfect destination for both teams, and ultimately finding a three-team deal to help out the Suns get their main guy in Jimmy Butler. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, what you guys ultimately think about this trade, and if you guys think it is going to get done. Like I said, the Suns are currently right now versus the 76ers, so a post-game video will be going up live tonight as well, covering what the aspects are from so far what we've seen as a disappointing first quarter. But who knows, maybe in the time of this recording of me talking for 8 to 9 minutes, the Suns have changed it around and they've actually gotten some good spark. But if not, obviously we'll be breaking that down. Like I said, make sure to stay tuned on everything updated for the Suns by hitting that like, hitting that subscribe button, and letting us know what you thought down below on this trade. Like I said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out.